Hello, good morning, and welcome to Bill Ricardi's weekly Patreon update. I, of course, am Bill Ricardi, a creator and purveyor of fantasy novels. So, what's going on this week? This week, we're going to talk a little bit more about Book 2 of the Blackstaff Siblings and my progress on that, which has been significant. We're going to talk a little bit about one of the new exclusive short stories that I am making for my fan club. And of course, as Patreon members, you are automatically members of said fan club. You will get personal delivery of that short story, actually. It won't just go out to the fan club mailing list, but you will each individually get a copy of that with a thank you. And I'll explain a little bit more about the premise of that. And finally, what the heck happened to Bill last week? And why did he disappear off the face of the earth? Talk about all of that in order. So first, let's talk about Blackstaff Siblings. The second book is going along quite well. This week we have finished the portion that cuts back to Granite and his situation and his growth within the new environment that he is in. Also, some of the education and background that comes with a certain new power that has been granted to him, and that gets really interesting because, of course, Granite is not a mage in any way, shape, or form. So how he gets granted this new power is quite interesting, and actually involves the central theme of the book. So we won't get too spoilery on you. Just understand that it's not anything overt. It's not anything blatant. But it is something a little bit special. And then we cut back to Sarah and the other group and what's going on with them. And I'm just progressing on that. And I'll do a little bit more of that today before going back to work on the exclusive short story, which I'll address in just a moment. The estimated time for beta on book 2 is late September, and that may get pushed to early October. There's certainly, I'll disabuse anyone of the notion right now, there's certainly not going to be a fourth book this year. There will be a third book, though, because it's looking like I'll be able to self-publish the mythic fantasy novel that I've been working on just before Christmas. So that's the order. What else has been going on? Just really quickly, this week I did a lot of work to start the broadening of my portfolio to all of the other platforms, not just Amazon. And so a lot of advertising went into that. A lot of talks and chats went into that. We're talking about broadening the audiobooks as well, although that might be a little bit more complicated. So some of my time was spent there. And next week, not the week upcoming, but the week after that, we should be announcing a Princess of Last Resort going broad as well, and that will be my entire portfolio then broad on all 5 of the major platforms. So there you go. So the second bit that we want to talk about is that exclusive short story before we talk about how it disappeared off the face of the earth. The exclusive short story is because the fan club has reached 1,000 members, and we will be writing a story based on their feedback, and voting ends today. Now, there are well over 100 and some odd number of votes, and people have voted for wanting to see something new from me. A new standalone fantasy short story. Probably on the longer side of short stories, to be frank, but, we're talking probably between 10 and 15,000 words, I imagine, before I'm done with this one. It's a lot of weekend work, let's put it that way. I don't want to cut too heavily into my normal writing, as it were, my Blackstaff Siblings completion. It still has to get done. But I will do a little bit more today just so I can have a solid idea, and then I'll probably pump out between 6,000 and 7,000 words this weekend and the same next weekend, and by then it will be done and ready for delivery. So that short story, I can tell you a little bit about it. It's set in a brand new world that is, I would say, far more Earth based, but it's not Earth. Uh, it's certainly not the likes of high fantasy Panos. This would be more of a medium fantasy, maybe an alternate Earth type setting, where there's definitely magic, but that kind of magic is based in the likes of divinity and demonology, if you know what I mean. There's not a separate clerical caste or clerical power, as it were. And in that, and within that, there is a certain role that can be taken on by those who are connected to the royal families of this world, of the various races. Um, and the human royal family has taken on our protagonist, in particular the queen, has taken on our protagonist as her witness. And the witness takes a series of very serious oaths, and they prevent him from lying, and they prevent him from recording falsehoods. And so I thought it would be fun to do this as a first-person diary, and it's going great so far, and progress on it is coming along quite well. So I will delve more into the lore and more into the world later on. Probably next week I'll be able to give you an update. And we'll have made significant progress by then, probably about 60-70% done by then. Now, the final question: where were you, Bill? Where were you last week? Where was the update, and what the heck happened to you? Well, as you know, my partner, Rick, threw out his back. But I then threw out my back in a spectacular fashion shortly afterwards. So that was just me overdoing it, me trying to be a superhero, and that did not work out well for me. Still in quite a bit of pain, but I refuse to take any serious meds for it, just anti-inflammatories, and that's it. And I'm trying to weather through it. But last week I was in no condition to make any sort of recording as far as that Friday. But you got me today, so count your little blessings. That really sums up where I was. I was recuperating, recovering, got some writing done, from the flat of my back, and yeah, I'm feeling a lot better now. Just some minor pain. Anti-inflammatories and tea are doing their job. We'll get through this. That's it. That's about it from me. Any sort of new updates or what have you next week will be centered around the short story and Panos, and very likely just some news about what happens next in my career as far as once everything has gone broad. What's the strategy at that point, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. So thank you everyone for listening. It's been a crazy couple of weeks. Tell your friends to come get a free copy of Another Stupid Spell and to delve into my fantasy world, and we'll take it from there. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you soon.